And back now with our panel, Michael Gerson, a columnist for the Washington Post. We're also joined by two members of our CBS News political team, congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes, political analyst John Dickerson. John, let me just start with you. This whole business about judges make decisions Congress doesn't like, so they haul them before a congressional committee.
Well, what Speaker Gingrich is talking about, and this is true of a lot of his plans, is he's coming to Washington, if he's president, to shake things up. And this would start the new administration with a big, as you said, constitutional crisis. This would be a big fight. You'd have both branches going after each other, and the country would likely look at that and say, wait a minute, I thought we were trying to figure the jobs thing out, and why are we having this huge fight? So he can test whether that would survive in the current system. But it's a big test to have right away when you're coming into office.
Michael Gerson, let me just ask you, can Herman Cain and this candidacy be for real? I don't think anybody anticipated that in this point, we're still very early, that Herman Cain would be one of the leaders.
Well, I think you have to take seriously that this is just the latest of the boom candidacies. We had Donald Trump, and we had Michelle Bachmann, and we had Rick Perry, and now we have Herman Cain. Now, he is a very engaging man. You look at that Valued Voters Summit, he came away and people were comparing him to Reagan. His upbeat style, his optimism, he's a motivational speaker. But unlike Reagan, he doesn't have governing experience. He doesn't really have a foreign policy background. And so we are moving from a different stage now where we've been in the debate stage of this primary. Now we're going to move to the ground game advertising stage. That requires money. It requires organization, and that is going to be one of the major tests of the Cain candidacy. On the ground in places like South Carolina, where I was this week, he has a lot of enthusiasm, but not much infrastructure.
Because Rick Perry has raised a lot of money.
Yeah,
Mitt Romney has raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
He has not raised a lot of money. I mean, he hardly has any organization in Iowa.
Well, what's one of his challenges is now to take this burst in popularity, turn it into fundraising, and then actual, ground game on the ground where you can win primaries and caucuses. That's a tough transition.
And it's a big challenge because his campaign manager in Iowa actually quit this summer. Several other top advisors in Iowa as well. They said they didn't feel like he was serious about running in Iowa. His communications director left this week. And Cain says he wants to run his campaign like a startup. But you can't run a startup and try to compete with a corporate identity like Obama Inc. And so at some point, if you are serious about running, you do have to raise the money and you do have to camp out in Iowa if you want to have a chance there.
And the other person to talk about was the other person who was here, Newt Gingrich. He is also coming up in the polls after just a disastrous start to his campaign. All of his campaign workers quit because they thought he wasn't serious. A lot of them went over to Rick Perry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But let's talk about Perry just a little bit. Where is he now, John?
Well, he's had a rough couple of weeks. He had some bad debate performances, and also on two issues, on immigration and also on this vaccine in Texas. He gave conservatives pause. But as we mentioned, he's got a lot of money, $17 million raised in 49 days. So that gives him a chance to say, okay, I can spend some money working on getting my message out, which is there's a reason conservatives liked me. If the race now is a question of Romney versus the non-Romney, and conservatives are trying to figure out who the non-Romney is, Perry can go to that group with a lot of money and organization and say, remember, I'm the one who's one of you. I'm an evangelical. I had a lot of immigration policies that you do like. Don't just pay attention to the one about in-state tuition that you don't like. He also has a gut level connection. If Mitt Romney, the problem is they used to say about Bob Dole when he was nominated, it was like kissing your sister. They weren't very excited in the Republican field. Well, Mitt Romney is like kissing a mannequin of your sister for some Republicans. And Perry is connected at the gut level. People look at him and they say, yes, he's speaking truth. He's one like me. That connection can get over a lot of individual problems they may have with specific things.
What about Romney, Michael?
Well, I actually think Romney had a very good week this week. He's collected some of the major Republican donors that were interested in Christie. He had a good defense launch, a very professional, presidential-looking launch. And he benefits from the fragmentation of the field. The fact that these two men who are here today are rising is actually good for Mitt Romney. They divide the anti-Romney vote. And so I think, the good news for Romney, well, the bad news is that a lot of people in the party want someone else. The good news is they haven't really found them yet.
And I think that he's learned a lot from the last 4 years in that the best defense is a good offense. So if someone attacks his faith, he says, look, we all need to be more civil and more inclusive of other religions. If someone attacks his positions and says he's a flip-flopper, then he points out his opponent's inconsistencies. And I think he realized from the last campaign that if you keep defending your positions and your faith, you look like you're on the ropes.
And Barack Obama is his running mate. The president's approval ratings in the Gallup poll, the lowest of his presidency. Mitt Romney is the one who does the best in those head-to-head matchups, and he can say to people, you want to beat Barack Obama, I'm the one who's got the best chance to do it.
All right. Well, I wish we could continue this, but we can't. Thank you all. The clock ran out.